I've trained some of the top home buyers in the country to buy houses at deeper margins through a step-by-step sales process. In this video, I'm going to share with you one of the tips and tricks I teach them to close more sales over the phone. At the end of this video, you will have all the tools you need to become more confident on sales calls. A sales call is your first impression. This is like when you walk up to the girl at the bar and introduce yourself. However you decide to begin that interaction will determine if you get a real number or a negative response. Same here with a sales call. The first couple of seconds of your call is extremely important. That is why we spend so much of our training focusing on how to properly start a call. Back in the late 90s, I worked at a call center. They taught us everything about sales that we now know to be wrong. I asked, "Is John there? Did I catch you at a good time?" And ended every question with, "Okay?" The premise behind that was that if they kept saying okay, we were getting positive responses, and we were told that the more yeses they said, the more likely they're gonna buy. Remember that scene from Boiler Room where he asked,
"If you're drowning and I throw you a life jacket, would you grab it?" "Yes." "Good. Pick up 200 shares. I won't let you down." Ask them how they'd like to see 30-40% returns.
That's the kind of training I got, and man, it could not be more wrong. The number one thing we don't like to ask is, "Mr. Smith there?" Think about the last time you called and asked if so-and-so was there. Personally, the last time for myself was back when I was in high school. I'd call the landline and hope that my friend's mean dad did not answer the phone. That is a dead giveaway that you two do not know each other, instantly adding sales resistance and reducing any credibility on the phone. Instead, we like to act as if we already know each other and they're expecting the call. Followed up with, "This is Steve?" As if they're supposed to know us. Doing this makes the seller think, "Who is Steve? Why can't I remember him?" This is what Tony Robbins calls pattern interrupts. Their brains are having a hard time processing what is going on. The effect we're looking for here is, think about the last time you were at the shopping mall or a supermarket and someone walked up to you that you didn't recognize, but they've got this big, beaming smile and they're so happy to see you. And you're standing there in embarrassment because you have no idea who this person is. Then your brain starts to think about, where have I met this person? Do I know them in high school? Do we work together? Was I intoxicated when I met them? It's awkward. That's the feeling we're looking for on the phone. Once we get past these first few crucial seconds and get the prospect curious, we go into our sales process. Naturally, most people ask the question, "How are you doing today?" which can only result in one of three responses. Their day is terrible, and in that case, they're not gonna wanna talk to you about what the problem is, and you've only reminded them of why they're in such a bad mood. As a result, you lose a lot of momentum on that particular call. Or they're having a great day, and now they're explaining to you about everything they did today, which makes it so great. How much do you care about this? Not at all. Or third, they know you don't care, and now you only come across as disingenuous. So we stopped asking, "How are you doing today?" altogether. Another question we stopped asking was, "Is now a good time?" What is the response when we ask this question? "No, this is not a good time." Or, "What is this about?" Immediately shooting ourselves in the foot before the call even gets started. It's also an easy way out for the prospect to get off the phone. So we got smarter and we started asking them, "Is now a bad time?" Because I read some book that said to ask no-oriented questions, because if they say no, they gave you permission to talk. And then we learn more that we don't even want to ask yes-no questions, because yes-no questions can sometimes abruptly end sales conversations. So something we know is that they have time if they're picking up the phone. No one is going to answer the phone if they're in the middle of cooking a nice romantic meal, in an important meeting, or in an argument with their spouse. So we got wiser. Now we say, "Probably caught you at a bad time," which they respond with, "No, I got a couple minutes." Why? People have a tendency to push back. If you tell them they don't have something, they'll tell you that they do have something. And we follow up with, "The reason for my call." And it's usually with a slight whisper, like we are in middle school and I'm gonna be telling a secret that only you can hear. And they'll tend to listen more intently. As a matter of fact, they might even lean in on the phone, pulling the phone closer to their ear. So here's an example of me cold calling a motivated homeowner. "Hey John, is Steve? Probably caught you at a bad time. Can I take 30 seconds, share with you why I called, and you let me know whether we should continue the conversation or not? The reason for my call is homeowners we worked with were irritated, fighting the banks, angry and frustrated, dealing with their HOA all the time, or want to sell the property but can't bear the idea of using a realtor to sell their home again. I don't suppose any of this applies to you." And that's how we handle prospecting calls. At this point, we've made it past the first 30 seconds, where most calls would have been dropped by now. We then proceed to ask if we take 30 seconds of their time, and once they agree, we explain the reason why we called, and then, hey, you can decide whether we continue the conversation or not. And when they say sure, we go on to our sales process. Well, people that we've helped have felt A, because of whatever, B, because of something else, or C, because of that. I don't suppose any of those apply to you. And what we're doing here is we're really focusing on the feelings associated with events occurring in their lives. Oftentimes, salespeople will ask, hey, are you dealing with A, B, and C? And they're describing events. What we want to focus on are the feelings due to those specific events. Now, that's how we handle prospecting calls. What about inbound calls? Most of the time when we're getting a call, we know exactly how they found us. We use call tracking tools to see exactly where the lead came from. And even though we know, they don't know that we know. So the first question we're always going to ask is, how did you hear about us? They will say direct mail, from your website, social media, etc. And after they say where they found us, we're going to respond with, what about that ad caused you to give us a call? And they'll say, well, we appreciate the cash offer, or we appreciate that you guys move quickly, whatever. And then we want to relay that back to them. Got it. You appreciate how quickly we can move. Now, how does that apply to you? And that's the third question. And when they say, well, we need this done fast because we already have our eyes on this other deal, you now know what their motivation is. And that's how we answer inbound calls, with those three questions. How did you hear about us? What about that ad caused you to give us a call? And how does that apply to you? Now, this is all great when you're at your desk prospecting and have your CRM open. But what used to happen to me sometimes is I would be at the desk all day, finish my last call, get in my car to go home for the day. And naturally, that's when I would have someone give me a call back from a potential prospect. So what do we say? Hey, I'm sorry, I'm not at my desk right now. Can I give you a call back when I'm back in front of my computer? And they would say yes. And then what happened? I called when I got back in front of my computer and they didn't answer. Now, we know statistically, now at least, if we end the call, there's an 85% chance we'll never talk to them again. So we have to be able to capitalize every time when they call us. So if they call us and we don't know from where, we're going to use a 30-second commercial. Hey, John, I'm not exactly sure what we called you about. Homeowners in the past we've worked with have called us because, and then we use that 30-second commercial, but I don't suppose those apply to you. Now, this is only part of what I teach inside my sales training, but this is one of the most crucial skills you need in order to become a great salesperson. If you want a copy of our script, comment script below and we'll send you a copy of our cold calling script. And also, don't forget to subscribe as I go over sales tips and tricks on my podcast every week with some of the best house buyers in the country.